Have you ever wondered how New York City's architecture has evolved over the centuries? Let's take a step back in time to the 17th century. The first buildings that graced the city's landscape were deeply influenced by Dutch colonial architecture. Picture quaint, 1- to 2-story structures with steeply pitched gable roofs. The walls were made of brick or stone, and the windows, often small and rectangular, were adorned with shutters. These buildings were modest, yet their influence on the city's early architectural identity was profound. The materials for these buildings were sourced locally. The abundance of forests in the surrounding areas meant that wood was often used for construction. For the more affluent, brick and stone provided a sturdier and more prestigious alternative. Sometimes the Dutch even painted their homes in bright colors, a tradition they brought from their homeland. As we move into the 18th century, the reins of architecture in New York were taken over by the British. The Georgian architecture, which was popular in Britain at that time, started to appear in the city. Named after the 4 King Georges who ruled Britain successively, Georgian architecture is characterized by its symmetry and proportion. Picture red brick buildings with multi-pane windows, often arranged in 5 across on the front facade. The central door, usually accented by decorative crown molding or a pediment, added a touch of grandeur to these structures. The influence of the Dutch and the British was not confined to the buildings alone. It seeped into the city's layout, its streets, and its public spaces, shaping the city's character and setting the stage for the architectural marvels that were to follow in the centuries to come. From its roots in Dutch colonial and British Georgian styles, New York City began to develop its own architectural identity. As we move forward in time, we'll see how this identity evolved, incorporating influences from around the world and ultimately shaping the iconic skyline we know today. As we step into the 19th century, we witness the rise of Greek Revival and Gothic Revival styles. These architectural styles, deeply rooted in ancient aesthetics and ideals, began to make their mark on the skyline of New York. The cityscape became a canvas for architects to express their creativity and bring these historic styles to life in a modern context. The prominence of Greek Revival and Gothic Revival styles during the 1800s was evident in the design of many public buildings, churches, and homes. Greek Revival, characterized by symmetrical shapes, columns, and detailed friezes, was often used in the design of public buildings. It was a nod to democratic ideals and the origins of Western civilization. The iconic St. Patrick's Cathedral, a masterpiece of Gothic Revival architecture, stands as a testament to the popularity of these styles. Gothic Revival, with its pointed arches, ribbed vaults, and flying buttresses, brought an air of medieval Europe to the bustling streets of New York. These styles didn't just influence the design of monumental structures, they also found their way into the homes of New Yorkers. Greek Revival townhouses with their grand columns and pediments lined the streets of affluent neighborhoods. Meanwhile, Gothic Revival homes with their steeply pitched roofs and decorative tracery added a touch of romanticism to residential areas. The influence of Greek Revival and Gothic Revival was not limited to physical structures. These styles shaped the way people thought about architecture and its role in society. They sparked a fascination with the past and a desire to incorporate historical elements into modern designs. This fascination wasn't just about aesthetics, it was also about the ideals these styles represented: democracy, faith, and the human spirit. The Greek and Gothic Revival styles left an indelible imprint on the city, setting the stage for the architectural revolution that was to come. These styles laid the groundwork for future architectural movements, influencing the design of buildings for generations to come. As we move forward, we'll see how these styles evolved and how they continue to shape the architecture of New York today. As we move into the late 19th and early 20th centuries, New York City's skyline began to reach for the clouds. During this era, a new style of architecture was taking shape, one that would change the face of the Big Apple forever. The birth of skyscrapers. These towering structures were made possible by the Beaux-Arts architectural style, a movement that drew inspiration from ancient Greek and Roman structures and combined it with modern materials and technology. This style emphasized grandeur, symmetry, and elaborate ornamentation, making each building a work of art. Among the first of these architectural marvels was the iconic Flatiron Building. Completed in 1902, its unique triangular shape and steel frame construction made it an instant city landmark. It rose 20 stories high, an unimaginable height at the time, and its Beaux Arts facade was a testament to the grandeur of the era. Just a few years later, the Woolworth Building joined the city's skyline. Rising to a staggering 57 stories, it was the tallest building in the world when it was completed in 1913. Its ornate cathedral-like facade earned it the nickname the Cathedral of Commerce, a shining example of the Beaux Arts style. But it wasn't just the aesthetic appeal of these buildings that was revolutionary. The introduction of steel frame construction was a game changer. With this technique, architects could build taller and stronger, without the limitations of brick and mortar. Steel frames allowed for the construction of buildings that soared to heights never before seen, and this technological innovation was the foundation upon which the city's modern skyline was built. The birth of skyscrapers marked a turning point in New York City's architectural history. It was a time when the city began to reach for the sky, both literally and metaphorically. The grandeur and ambition of this era were reflected in its buildings, structures that continue to inspire awe and admiration to this day. The introduction of skyscrapers forever changed the city's skyline, paving the way for the modern marvels we see today. The 20th century ushered in a new era of architectural innovation with modern and postmodern styles. This period was marked by a departure from the historicist traditions of the past to a more experimental and free-form approach to design. Enter the modernists. Inspired by the rapid technological progress of the era, architects like Frank Lloyd Wright and Ludwig Mies van der Rohe pioneered a new approach to design. They believed that form should follow function, and that buildings should be in harmony with their environment. Wright's designs, for instance, were marked by their organic qualities blending seamlessly with the landscape. His philosophy of organic architecture was a radical departure from the ornate designs of the past. On the other hand, Mies van der Rohe, with his famous phrase, "less is more," championed simplicity and clarity. His designs, often characterized by their minimalist aesthetic and use of modern materials like steel and glass, brought a new level of sophistication to the architectural landscape. As the century progressed, a reaction against the perceived sterility of modernism began to emerge. This gave birth to postmodern architecture, a style marked by a return to ornamentation and a playful use of forms and symbols. One of the most iconic examples of this style is the AT&T building in New York. Designed by Philip Johnson and John Burgee, the building, with its Chippendale-inspired roof and use of traditional materials like granite, was a bold statement against the prevailing modernist aesthetic. The modern and postmodern movement saw architects breaking away from traditional styles, introducing new materials and bold designs. They offered a fresh perspective on what architecture could be, and in doing so, forever changed the face of New York's skyline. Now let's step into the present and look at contemporary New York architecture. As we navigate through the 21st century, New York City continues to reinvent its skyline, incorporating designs that are not only aesthetically breathtaking, but also echo the city's commitment to sustainability and innovation. One of the most iconic symbols of contemporary New York architecture is the One World Trade Center. Rising a symbolic 1,776 feet, the building is a testament to resilience and unity. Its design marries classic principles with futuristic aesthetics, featuring an 8-sided, elongated pyramid shape that tapers into a stunning spire. Now let's turn our attention to the Edge. This is not just another skyscraper, it's the highest outdoor sky deck in the Western Hemisphere, an architectural marvel. The Edge extends out from the 100th floor of 30 Hudson Yards, offering an adrenaline-pumping view of the city. But contemporary architecture in New York isn't just about reaching new heights. It's also about rethinking the way we build and use spaces. In a city where every square foot counts, architects are leveraging technology and sustainable design principles to create buildings that are energy efficient, environmentally friendly, and adaptable to the evolving needs of the city. Take, for instance, the Bank of America Tower at One Bryant Park. This skyscraper is a pioneer in environmentally friendly design, featuring a host of sustainable technologies, including water recycling systems, high-performance glass for maximum daylight and minimum heat gain, and an on-site cogeneration plant. These buildings aren't just structures, they're living, breathing entities that embody New York's spirit of innovation and resilience. They're a testament to the city's ability to constantly reinvent itself, pushing the boundaries of design, technology, and sustainability. From its early roots to the towering skyscrapers of today, New York City's architecture tells a story of innovation and transformation that continues to unfold.